So we're doing something a little bit different today. I thought it would be interesting to just kind of chill out and maybe rank some of the classic horror movies most people, I think, who are horror fans have seen. These are not going to be every classic horror movie ever made. I only chose 25. I thought anything between about 1950 to the early 2000s, like prior to 2005 probably, that most people think is classic horror. One of the ways I judged this is I went on to my Letterboxd app and I went to the horror movies I'd seen and I filtered by just most popular with everybody, and kind of based on the ones that I consider classics, the ones that most people apparently seem to be watching, that's how I chose these. There are lots missing. There's countless numbers of classic horror films, but this just seems like a nice amalgamation. I don't know if I'm using that word appropriately in this moment. If you can't tell, this is a loose video. I'm not planning anything here. We've got several tiers here going today. I had, let's see, yeah, we're gonna do, for a top tier, S tier, we're gonna do classic gold. Classic gold, I was thinking would be, it was amazing when it came out, it was amazing when I first saw it, and I still find it just as amazing and just as impressive as I did the first time I watched it. Then for the second tier, I was gonna say A tier. Oop. A tier is Still Hits. That's a classic horror movie that, of course, was good when it came out, was good when I first saw it. It maybe isn't top tier classic to me anymore, but it is still one that I think is a really strong entry and really essential to all horror viewing, and I still like to watch it. Then we're getting down to the B tier, and this would be Losing Luster. Losing Luster, that kind of explains itself. It was a great movie when it came out. I enjoyed it a lot when I first saw it, but as time is moving on, I am not as on board with it as I used to be. I probably still like it, I probably am still willing to watch it, but it's not something I'm crazy about. It doesn't fascinate me or catch me the way it did in the past. After Losing Luster, what were we gonna have for C tier? Oh, I decided Always Meh. Always Meh is, even when I first saw it, I didn't really get exactly why it was so hyped up. It wasn't maybe terrible. It is considered a classic, but I kind of never understood the wide appeal of it. And then finally, for D tier, we were gonna do Forget It. D tier is Forget It. Everybody's taste is valid. Art is subjective, but at the same time, I'm not always going to understand people's reasons for liking something, and I'm not always going to agree, and that's fine. We don't have to, but there are definitely a few movies out there that I've heard people rave about that I don't get it. Yeah, let's get started. And we're going to start, first one on the list is The Mist. Right off the bat, this is maybe gonna be upsetting to some people because I do have a very strong feeling towards this movie, and that very strong feeling is Forget It. There was so much cheesy dialogue. Sometimes the way characters would respond to each other did not even make sense. I'll have to try to see if I can find an example.
It may not be wise to send him out then.
Okay, I'll do it. No, look, it's not about who goes out there.
What, don't you think I can do it?
Hey, I want to go. It was my idea.
Are you guys being willfully dense?
Oh, I remember one of the things that I thought was crazy. Literally, the day starts and the main character, the dad guy, he has a wife, and then all of a sudden this catastrophe happens while he's at the grocery store with his kid. Some random woman about the same age who is not unattractive, he begins speaking with her. And for the rest of the movie, she's in this weird mommy role for his son, who, by the way, his son is, I feel like, I don't know a lot about kids, but I feel like he's a little too old for how much he wants to be picked up. I get that they're in a scary situation. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, back to my old point. I was like, weren't you married this morning? Who is this new mommy that you found for your kid in less than 24 hours? I guess the ending was impactful, as we all recall. I'm not going to say that wasn't an impactful ending. Having that one moment doesn't really make up for just silliness on silliness on silliness. Okay, I came in really hot first thing, but I don't think that one's going to be my most controversial opinion, so I hope that we didn't start off on too rough a note. Because now we're moving on to The Exorcist. I debated where to put this one. And I decided The Exorcist, don't hate me, it's going into losing luster. What can I say about this decision that I'm making? Because I know to so many people this is just a staple. I liked how transgressive the film was in a lot of ways, and I appreciate that it really pushed boundaries. But when this movie first came out, it hit people so hard. I wasn't there for it, but I can specifically remember the first time I ever put this movie on as a young person. And I was in a different room from my mother. I don't think I had the TV up that loud. It was only the opening sequence. And all of a sudden I heard her like yelling at me from another room across the house, "Is that The Exorcist?" She was upset. She immediately recognized the soundtrack or the beginning intro sequence just audibly. I think it really affected audiences when it first came out because of the zeitgeist. People hadn't seen anything exactly like this before. And I mean, we were only, I guess, about a decade away from the like onset of the Satanic Panic. So I think people very much kind of similar to the Blair Witch Project when it came out, people were very affected because there was a wide audience out there that felt like this movie was representing something that could very much actually happen. And I just think now, in the year 2025, not only are people maybe a little bit less bought and sold into this potentially being a real risk. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people out there who still have their beliefs. I'm not commenting on that. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's the same zeitgeist. Oh, the next one, The Thing. Okay. We're changing pace a little bit because The Thing, I actually am going to put in classic gold. I think I've hated on a few so far, but number 3, lucky number 3, I definitely categorize The Thing as classic gold. It was just as good. The second watch, the third watch, the fourth watch, I will still watch it. I think it is worth all the hype it has ever been given. The practical effects are praised, and for good reason, but I think additionally it stands the test of time because a lot of sci-fi stuff has stood the test of time. A lot of stuff about extraterrestrials, aliens, other life forms has stood the test of time because that's still something we're unsure of, and there's possibilities surrounding it. We have not outpaced that kind of storyline yet. And furthermore, The Thing is, it's a simple story. It's very character driven. You know, it's really about studying these characters, which really good acting, and trying to figure out who you can trust. It's kind of a whodunit in that sense. The story itself is solid. There's nothing about it to me that feels dated. Not a damn thing like that feels dated. Now we're at Hellraiser. And Hellraiser is a difficult one for me because the truth is I want to put Hellraiser in classic gold. Every part of me wants to put Hellraiser in that top category. I have always loved Hellraiser. I have so much affection for it. I'm not tired of it at all, but it's gonna have to go into still hits. As I was thinking about this list, I realized Hellraiser could almost be seen as being a little bit goofy in the future, if not already goofy. Basically, the reason that I thought that is I was just sitting and thinking about Hellraiser, and what popped into my head was this scene from Rick and Morty that has some Hellraiser type characters that kind of very accurately called out a flaw.
Oh, the pain of being rejected from hell. Oh, it's painful, so I love it. Thank you. Oh, such pleasure.
I didn't mean to cause you any pleasure, which causes me pain, which gives me pleasure.
I love the pleasure pain thing. I love the gooey, ooey creatures. I love the design of the Cenobites, but there is just something inherently silly. I don't know if that inherent silliness was there in the 80s, but it's already starting to seem a little silly, so how's that going to seem in 50 years? Just a thought. Child's Play. Here we go. Okay, so Child's Play, I'm putting that one in always meh. Let me put in a stipulation. that does not apply to the entire franchise. I actually absolutely love Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky. Really, okay, that's it. I'm not saying I dislike the other ones, but I love Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. And I don't dislike the original. I didn't put it in Forget It. 50 years from now, I just feel like it could blend in with other movies that came out from the time and be a little bit more forgotten about than it has been in the past, however many years. Bride of Chucky, there's nothing like Bride of Chucky. There's nothing like Jennifer Tilly as the Bride of Chucky. And Seed of Chucky just took it even further. I do not think I can think of any movies that mimic those two in any way. Those are their own totally unique creations. Child's Play, the most serious of maybe all of them, it can be a little bit forgettable. Signs. Okay, I think maybe this one's not my most unpopular opinion. Signs is going into Forget It. There are probably going to be some people who dislike that. Yeah, there's going to be some people who dislike that. But this one, there are multiple movies on this list that were parodied by one of the movies in the Scary Movie franchise, and that has changed how I view those movies. Signs, even though it was parodied by Scary Movie, Signs isn't one of them. I never thought Signs was good. I never enjoyed Signs. It always seemed hokey. It always seemed silly. It always seemed overly emotional. I guess I gotta be fair. I'm not a huge M. Night Shyamalan fan. I don't dislike M. Night Shyamalan, but I don't like M. Night Shyamalan. And Signs is just one of his many films that I am not the audience for, and I don't get it. I don't get it. It's so sappy. I think the crop circles are a dated thing. I don't think that the crop circles were ever a very interesting thing. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this, but just it seemed like the solutions were silly. It seemed like the characters were silly. It seemed like not a lot of things were very well thought out. What did it change about horror? I guess that's an important thing, is like, what did it do that was new? What did it do that really changed the way we make horror, the way we view horror? The Thing has influenced countless films. The Exorcist, even though I put it in losing luster, has a significant impact on the mentality of a whole generation. Signs, what did it ever do? Don't roast me, y'all. Or do roast me. It's my fault. I'm the one doing this. Now we're getting into the really rough waters. We're on Halloween. You're gonna hate this. I don't know, maybe you won't hate this, but Halloween is going into losing its luster. Okay, I said it, I did it, it's there. The thing is, I'm not saying that Halloween isn't iconic, and I'm not saying that it isn't one of the most definitive franchises or single films even in horror history. I definitely appreciate what it did, the impact it had, its continuing legacy, but I appreciate it without truly enjoying it the way other people do. Similar to The Exorcist. When I was a young horror fan, I watched it and I had been told about it and I had been told of its importance and I appreciated it. But like The Exorcist, I would be lying if I said that it was something that I felt, where has this been all my life? I'm going to rewatch this every year. This is a new favorite. I enjoyed watching it and thought it was a good film, but compared to the way other people love and worship this film, I'm just not there. I'm really afraid of what you guys are going to say now that I've done that. Next one is Alien, and I can stop sweating for a second because Alien is going in classic gold. Alien succeeds in remaining a classic gold for similar reasons that The Thing does. First of all, again, sci-fi We are not tired of it as a culture yet, from what I can tell. Also, simple, good storytelling, very character-driven, character-based, and very similar to The Thing. It's this idea of the super predator. I think there will be something eternally terrifying about us encountering a life form that is far more advanced than us. The one goofy thing about the movie is probably the little teeny tiny underpants, the smallest underpants that anybody's ever seen that she's wearing at the end. That's goofy. But everything else about this movie still is terrifying, still feels real, still fresh, like put out in theaters today. I don't think anyone would bat an eye. The visuals are still on par with today's visuals. The acting is still on par with today's acting. The storyline is better than a lot of the things we've been given recently. I don't have any notes. The Hills Have Eyes. Always meh. I don't hate The Hills Have Eyes, much like I don't hate Child's Play. I just was not thoroughly impressed by it. I think it influenced horror hugely. I'm sure Wrong Turn wouldn't have existed without The Hills Have Eyes. It feels like a good concept, perhaps, that just in execution was forgettable. And then this one, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of hate for, other than for being maybe really basic. The Shining is also going in classic gold for me. I know that one has become pretty divisive, with a lot of people saying it does not deserve the amount of praise that it always has received. I don't know if I can say always has received. I think it's had a divisive quality to it for a long time. But my life was transformed the first time I saw The Shining. I thought I had seen horror god. Something that continues for me to this day is loving weird moments in horror. I love in horror when my eyebrows are just like up to my hairline and I'm just sitting back like, what the fuck? Just like having to take a step back with my jaw on the floor and process for a second, what did I just see? Whether or not you have seen the movie, the location is recognizable, the actors and characters are recognizable, the scenes and dialogue are recognizable. To this day, all of those things, even for non-horror fans, are recognizable. And I think that it all stands out because it was a memorable, impactful, good movie. We're moving on to Carrie. And Carrie, another Stephen King, Carrie is going into losing luster. Yeah, that's what we're doing. So I did enjoy Carrie the first time I saw it. I've seen at least one person comment on how silly it is that Sissy Spacek is getting bullied for being such a lame loser when in fact she is absolutely gorgeous and just seems like a nice person. I also picked up on that. That's not really my problem with this movie. I think my problem with this movie is that yes, there will always be bullies. Yes, people will always be bullied. But when you watch these characters, when you watch these interactions, it does start to feel very dated. On a level of who would do this? This seems like fiction. This seems like the very first scene of them all throwing tampons at her. In my opinion, girl bullying would be a lot more subtle. Girl bullying would be a lot more psychologically sneaky. Backhanded compliments, starting rumors, whispering things but then denying it and gaslighting them that you didn't say it. That seems like believable girl bullying to me. Yeah, just the characters aren't super dimensional. The one girl who feels remorse for bullying Carrie, you could say that there's some character development there, but I just think that this story hasn't aged super well. These people don't seem like real people in hindsight. And I don't know. That's all I can say. We're going to leave Carrie alone because there's nothing wrong with Carrie. Carrie is not a bad movie, but it's not one of the all-time best. And it's certainly not one of the all-time best as time is moving on. So we're going on to Evil Dead, and Evil Dead is going into classic gold. The whole franchise is enjoyable. The whole franchise has something to offer. But the original Evil Dead really exemplifies what people can do with a small budget and some creativity and a simple premise, but a dedicated team. I think it's unlike anything else I've ever seen, honestly. I mean, we've all seen Cabin in the Woods horror, we've all seen demon horror, but tonally, this is very different from so many horror movies. I think maybe it's characteristic of Sam Raimi films in general. The Evil Dead was so manic. It just felt like a horror movie where the director and the cast were speaking to the audience. They weren't speaking to a studio. It was very genuine. It was very heartfelt, if that's something I can say about The Evil Dead. It felt like it was made for people like me who just get joy from horror films. I believed that the director and the cast also felt joy. I love how much joy the demons get from messing with these humans. Poltergeist. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, but I'm putting Poltergeist in always meh. Normally, I consider myself to be like way more forgiving to horror movies than other people. I generally seem to rate things a little bit higher than the broader audience, I think. I'm just kind of down for a good time, and so I don't think I'm overly harsh on horror films, and I can appreciate them if they're bad but they're fun. I can appreciate them if they're not super fun but they're artsy. I can get on board with a lot. And Poltergeist was just not ever anything that appealed to me on any level. I did not find it scary. I did not find it campy in a way that was fun. I did not find it to have a very serious storyline that made me think. I enjoy horror for many reasons. It was meh. I've heard about the stories of the bodies in that one scene. I've heard the legends. I don't get it. It just seems silly, but not fun silly, like unintentionally silly. It's trying too hard. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. You get nothing else. It's trying too hard. It's not my thing. But then we have The Sixth Sense. And Sixth Sense is going in classic gold. So the twist is something that I think most people, everybody knows. And so I don't know if people are going to react to it now the way they reacted when it was new. But even without the twist, even if you already knew how it ends, the story is so well told. Oh my God, I just realized that I was hating on M. Night Shyamalan not 2 minutes ago. I think The Sixth Sense is the only M. Night Shyamalan movie that I actually do like. And I'm okay with that. I think he told this story really well. I genuinely had feelings for everyone in this movie. My heart was breaking for all of them. And I'm not always someone who loves a sad horror film, but I actually felt for everybody. And not only did I feel for everybody, but I thought there were some legitimately scary things in this movie. It's not over the top in its scares. I think the way the scares are grounded, the way the spirits are so normal, I think it makes it effective. At this time period, there were a lot of CGI things happening with ghosts that weren't really working. Seeing those ghosts, you see that it's kind of wacky. Whereas when you look at the ghost in The Sixth Sense, these are just real people who have died. They are not boogans. These seem like average, everyday people who have just kept going after they dropped dead. They dropped, and then they got back up, and they just kept walking around. And that works. Staying grounded works in a lot of horror. Unless you are intentionally trying to do something fun and out there, and that is the tone you're going for, the best way to have an impact is often to be very grounded. And this movie did that. Rosemary's Baby. I have a lot of feelings towards Rosemary's Baby, but I'm gonna put it in still hits. This was a movie about gaslighting before gaslighting was a commonly used term. I don't even think I'd heard the word gaslighting when I first saw Rosemary's Baby, but that is absolutely what is happening. What could possibly be more alarming than everyone around you looking at you and being like, why? What? What's wrong? Oh, you're not feeling well? Oh, everything's fine, but do you need anything? Because you seem like you're not doing too okay. No, everything else is fine. Let me make you something. That's so scary. How often have we all been frustrated watching a horror movie and somebody's like, oh, I thought I saw something, but I guess not. And you're like, no, you 100% saw that. Why are you questioning this? Don't go back in there. Why are you going back in there? You know what you saw. That's frustrating, and it makes you not buy into what's happening. So when you have characters being believably made to question themselves, and you can similarly see how everything is conspiring around them to make them question themselves, then you can buy in. You are also experiencing this with the character. I think that works really well. And I think that the cast of characters in this was very interesting. This charming older couple who just seem like the nicest people ever, because that's another thing I love, is when appearances are deceiving, subvert our expectations. This movie worked very well on those levels, and I think it continues to succeed for those reasons. Yeah, but there's something that won't let me put it in classic gold. I think it's good. I think it's classic. It's still classic, but I don't feel the love like I used to. Blair Witch Project. And Blair Witch Project is going and losing luster. I enjoyed the Blair Witch Project multiple times over the course of my life, but like The Exorcist, I keep kind of comparing The Exorcist and the Blair Witch Project. I think it was very much a product of the time it came out. Blair Witch Project is one of those that when it came out, people were so able to blur the lines of reality that it just shot this movie so far into the ether, the horror ether. Blair Witch Project blurred the lines, and it was good for that. It was realistic. I think there was online chatter about it being real. Early days of the internet, people weren't really sure what online was real. Not that they are now, what was real and what wasn't. There was a certain ability people had to believe that maybe this footage had authentically been filmed and found and released. I don't know how widespread that was, but people definitely were able to blur the lines with reality. And I don't think that applies as much now. Like The Exorcist, you can appreciate it for what it did for horror and you can enjoy it. But classics, I think, should stand the test of time, like hold up on multiple levels over the test of time. And I think it is one that is significant in the time and place it came out. It has continued to have an effect on horror, but maybe it's not as big of a deal as it was in the first, 10 years after it came out. Is that a hot take? Psycho. So, Psycho is going in classic gold. Yeah, I don't know how I could really put it anywhere else. Psycho could come out in theaters today. It's a movie where everybody is a complex person. No one is all good. No one is all bad. Everyone is driven by understandable human motives. We don't have just a straight up evil killer. We don't have just some ditzy girl who just, I'm gonna go stop on the side of the road. No, everybody here has a truly believable storyline, a reason for being where they are, for acting the ways they are. And I know this is probably really cliche to say at this point, but everybody talks about the shower scene because it was so iconic. And I think we still use showers as a tool for horror today because you're vulnerable when you're in the shower. You can't often see or hear if someone is approaching. I, to this day, because of this movie and other horror movies like it, shower with a clear shower curtain so that nobody can sneak up on me. I don't want any surprises, and that is a deep-seated fear after many horror movies showing bad things happening in the shower. And I think it started with Psycho. So Friday the 13th. Again, I might get some hate for this, but I have to be honest. That's what this is all about. And Friday the 13th is going into losing luster. Let me think about this. How am I going to say this? Okay. When I was a young horror fan, really trying to tick off horror movies that I knew I needed to see to really feel like I understood the genre, slashers were, of course, all on the list. And the biggest slashers that people talked about were Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. When I first saw Halloween, I liked it way better than Friday the 13th. And now, as time has gone on, I actually think I enjoy Friday the 13th more than Halloween. If you were to tell me I had to put on either Halloween or Friday the 13th right now, just for fun, I would put on Friday the 13th. I don't know why that change happened, but at some point when I wasn't thinking about it, they switched. I, like many people, was expecting the Jason that I had come to know through posters and previews. I was expecting him the whole movie. So maybe that's why I didn't enjoy Friday the 13th as much as Halloween when I first saw it. But now that I've accepted it, now that that expectation has been resolved, I see Friday the 13th with clearer eyes. But I just feel as if there's nothing super interesting about it. It's fun, but it's not super fun, and it's not super interesting. It's there. It's fine. It is important to horror history. Is this the worst thing ever to say? But it's just more teenagers getting murdered. It's just more teenagers getting murdered. Sorry, guys. Silence of the Lambs is going into still hits. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people will be like, how can that not be in classic gold? Maybe it should be. I love Silence of the Lambs. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great movie. It's truly terrifying, but I think I know what it is. Okay. The problem with Silence of the Lambs is that I watched the entire show Hannibal. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the show Hannibal, but at some point watching it, it almost became kind of funny to me. The show's not funny, but there's so many serial killers that are on such a high artistic level with their serial killing that it's almost like Hannibal and the world that he occupies is as fictional as a Marvel movie. This is a world where there are tons of supervillains in the form of these mastermind, high art, high concept serial killers. In order to enjoy the show, I had to go into that mental place. And that's not fair to this original standalone film, but I think that's what's happening right now. Let's change pace a little bit. Here I have been kind of talking about not loving classic slashers. Nightmare on Elm Street is going in still hits. So Nightmare on Elm Street maybe is on another level for me because of its supernatural trappings. Not that there isn't something a little supernatural to Friday the 13th and Halloween, but the dreamscapes involved in Nightmare on Elm Street ups the ante for me. You're never safe if you can't fall asleep. You could be surrounded by police, whatever, nuns, whoever you think is going to help you. You could be surrounded by hordes of them, and there's nothing that any of them can do if Freddy's coming after you. I also think there's a lot of possibilities with these dreamscapes. It allows for a little bit of fun. Freddy is awful. He's a predator, but you gotta admit he also has some charisma. You never knew when he was coming, what he was going to be doing, how he was going to get you. The reason why it's not in classic gold, the reason why it's in still hits, is because I've had some people expose to me some silliness regarding the ending. And I've decided that that's fair. I've decided that the ending is a little wacky, is a little out of nowhere, is a little out of the blue. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is classic gold. What to say about Texas Chainsaw Massacre? They are so cruel. It's cruel in a way I don't get from Freddy. I don't get it from Jason. I don't get it from Michael. Don't get me wrong. They're not nice, friendly bunnies. But the family is absolutely vicious. They just fucking want to do this to you. It's not actually as gory of a movie as people think it is. You were told what was happening. You saw someone like being hung on a hook or something, but they didn't actually show the hook going in, although you felt like they did. And I realized how clever that was. It's not charismatic and fun like Freddy, like Nightmare on Elm Street. And I don't think anything's ever made me feel as repulsed. Almost, I don't think there's anything that has ever made me feel as repulsed as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with like one exception. Okay, Pet Sematary. This one is complicated. I want to put it in still hits, but I'm putting it in losing its luster. I have a lot of affection for Pet Sematary. It holds a place in my heart, but I have to be real. It gets a little goofy. God, Judd is so deep in my psyche that I don't want to say anything bad about him, but he seems like a caricature. And also, some of the moments that should have been the most disturbing weren't. Let me think of an example. The baby. The baby when he comes back to life. Why did they put him in this little gentleman's outfit? What is this? Where did he get this? Why is he wearing this? Yeah, I look back on it and it's got a lot of goofiness in there. There's some legitimate scare. The concepts are disturbing. And some of that with time has also become charming to me. That's why I'm not putting it any lower or hating on it anymore. I have enough nostalgia for this that the goofiness has become charming. But it's not something that I could see, again, as time marches on, me feeling stronger about defending it as a masterpiece. I think this one might be one of my most controversial opinions. There's been several today, but we're moving on to The Birds. Always meh. The Birds is one, like several others, that was really talked up to me. And then I just really was trying to force myself to like it before I realized I don't need to force myself to like things. If I don't like them, I just don't like them. The concept of a highly populous creature that already exists in great number in our environment turning on us collectively is an interesting concept. But beyond that, I was not invested. I'm like, I get it, the birds are attacking you. Maybe it's this type of movie that I'm not sold on. I rated The Mist really low, and I also never have been a fan of the Quiet Place movies. I don't enjoy them. I don't get the hype. There does seem to be a bit of a pattern where in a world populated by threatening creatures and you're just constantly trying to dip and dodge them, I get really tired. When I just have to trudge through it with these characters, I'm like, man, this life is tedious. I'm already tired. I don't even want to be here with you. This is boring and awful. I don't want to be here either. The Fly is going into still hits. Part of me wants to put it in classic gold because I love The Fly. I actually love both the original Fly and this 80s remake. It will always be horrific seeing the decay of someone you care about, watching them change emotionally, mentally, and physically. Yeah, I think there's something really interesting about turning into something. There's something very modern about turning into a fly. It's not glamorous. You're turning into an insect. We don't really relate to insects like flies. We can't really fathom what goes on in a fly's experience of the world. So to see the degradation that he goes through, to see his behavioral changes, it took a lot of creative vision, I think. They really have Jeff Goldblum's character go through such personality changes that I'd like to say he's playing like a very different character at multiple points in the movie. Last one, we're doing Scream. Scream is going in still hits. So it's another that I could maybe bump up to classic gold. I'm so familiar with the way it's been parodied that I have a hard time seeing it the way I first saw it. Actually, even before I saw the Scary Movie franchise, I had seen clips of the Scary Movie franchise. So I had even seen clips of the parody of Scream probably before I'd seen Scream. This movie was so great because it brought on this era of self-aware horror that is commenting on itself, very meta, obviously.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Number one, you can never have sex. Sex equals death, okay? Number two, you can never drink or do drugs. It's a sin. It's an extension of number one. And number three, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
Maybe none of this is fair. Maybe I'm just trying to find a reason not to put Scream in classic gold. But again, I just don't know if it's something that I can argue. You know what? Everybody tell me to shut up because I changed my mind. We have so many horror comedies now that exist because people started really examining what horror was doing and poking fun at it. And Scream really is the archetype for all of that. So it's going in classic gold. Looking at this tier list, now that I've done it, now that it's over, I kind of think what I was saying about myself is true, that I tend to be pretty lenient on films. I have way more films in the classic gold, the top tier, than any other tier. And then it kind of fluctuates in the middle. But I have by far the fewest films in the forget it category, the lowest category. I tend to give a lot of passes because even as I'm looking at this, I'm like, I don't want to hate on any of these films. Like, I mean, maybe I want to hate on The Mist and Signs, but that's kind of what I decided to do today. So, bye.